Welcome in, everybody, to Leading Off right here on Fantasy Pros. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia. That, of course, is Dinger Dan Harris, and it's you. And we're talking all things baseball here, as we do every day, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Well, most days, unless there's camp, obviously. Camp throws everything into a tizzy in the summertime. But, of course, Dan Harris and I are always here for you guys. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Fantasy Pros MLB, if you want to listen to the show and watch it live. And who wouldn't want to see these two handsome young lads talking the round ball this early in the morning? Dan Harris, I'm on like 4 hours of sleep. I know that's like normal for you because you are out there with the owls hanging out. But how are you this morning, my friend? What's going on?
I'm doing well. Nothing really major to report. I felt like yesterday was a weird day in baseball. Not that much that I'm excited, like, ooh, look at this. Let's dissect this. It was a lot of good starts from some kind of under the radar pitchers, some bad starts from some really good pitchers. So I don't know. I'm here though. I'm ready. I had normal sleep, my normal like 6 hours. I'm raring to go.
I gotta tell you, I mean, we kind of said it yesterday. It's kind of a weird slate. Like, you could even stay
Yeah.
away from it if you wanted to, and we'll get to the ups and downs in a second. And of course, we've got some fun stats on Gerrit Cole. We're gonna have a little Gerrit Cole discussion. I've done some more homework on the Gerrit Cole, looking back at the game logs and the bad stretches and trying to find one, and it's difficult. Spoiler alert. But let's go and let's start with the ups here. And let's start with Ober getting his first win here for the Twinkies. Congratulations, kid. You get your first W in the big leagues. Kepler hits 2 homers in that game as the Twins beat the White Sox 8-5. Twins-White Sox is becoming a fun rivalry, which is good. It's kind of waking up the Twins a little bit. Rafael Devers homers, and the Red Sox continue to win and hold off the Angels 5-4. And Willie Peralta, who I had a slip yesterday when I accidentally almost said Willie Peralta, remember? Well, I meant to say Willie Peralta's so good. Through 7 scoreless innings in his longest big league outing since when, you ask? 2016. So there you go. Upside down Monday Night Baseball. That's basically what was going on. So anything to glean from some of these ups from yesterday? Like you said, it wasn't really an eventful night in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, not really. I mean, Ober is fine. He just, he's a guy who throws his fastball 60% of the time, and it's like 92 miles an hour. It's really hard to see Bailey Ober being like a guy that you want to add, but on a 2-start week like he was this week, that's actually one of my biggest regrets coming in, Joe, is that there were some of these guys, McGill, who we can talk about as well, and Ober, like, I thought about picking him up for a 2-start week. I kind of was like, I feel like they have just enough stuff, and their matchups are not bad enough that they might be able to survive, and I ultimately passed. But obviously they got off to a good start. But long-term, Ober, Peralta, no. I just really have no interest in any of these guys. It's just a random night.
Yeah, randoms are actually the best way to describe it. Speaking of random, let's talk about Gausman and Woodruff both taking losses. That doesn't happen very often. Like, when's the last time you saw that on the same night, right? Also, we have a shoulder tear for the Marlins prospect, Sixto Sanchez, so you will not see him for quite some time. Bummer, because this was a pitcher I was very excited about going into the season. And also probably a reminder, which is, something that of all, Scott Bogman and I have had a lot of conversations the last couple of years, and he has become the poster child of saying, if he's hurt before the season, I don't want anything to do with them. And I said, well, what about this? What about... No, I don't want anything. And you know what? More often than not, he's been very right the last couple of years in these conversations we've had on shows. So there's another guy that if you thought, okay, maybe I'll get him back in XYZ. Zach Gallen's another guy too, right? He's back on the IL yet again. Also, the Cubs lose their 10th straight. So, do you remember the middle of last month when we said everything that goes up must come down? Well, guess what? The Cubs have leveled out. They'll be selling off pieces any day now. What's today? Oh, it is about 9:05 in the morning. So, Dan, the downs, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, this is probably the best thing that could have happened for Cubs management, right? They did not plan to be in contention this year. They did not want to feel pressure to go for it. They want to sell. And the Brewers, for all the chagrin we had over the Brewers, they've really been, they're running, right? They're like 16 games over 500. The 2 pitchers that you mentioned at the start, Gausman and Woodruff, I mean, they got losses, and Woodruff wound up giving up 4 runs. But, I mean, again, he's pitching against the Mets, so I probably watched that start a little closer than I watch, the rest of the games as I'm flipping through. He was utterly, utterly dominant until the end, and he fell apart in the last inning. And I was watching that, and I just kept thinking about, I think the last time he pitched, Joe, where you were just like, why don't we just acknowledge that Brandon Woodruff
acknowledge
is
he's
like,
elite. He's elite.
Like
when you watch him, you know it. And I've been watching. I had him I actually had him for a buck a couple years ago in an auction league. That year he broke out, so it was 2019.
Yeah.
And I was just like looking around going, geez, I thought he would be like a good flyer pitcher. I never thought he would become what he was.
Right.
And then I started watching him. I was like, this guy's for real. And then I remember he had the injury.
Yep.
Everyone went, wow, okay, there you go. He's done. See, it's his flash in the pan. And then he came back and he was really good after the injury. And it made me start to go, all right, well, this is a guy you got to hold at a buck. I mean, you can't, let this guy go back into the pile. But you're right, Dan. And the other takeaway from that Met game is Brandon Nimmo gives that team a little bit of a lift.
So he really is. He is really. Also, look, he's been injured, so you can't take the W on it. But you were really all over him in the spring when we were talking about the draft, and I was kind of poo-pooing him because I was like, whatever. But he has really developed into a quality player, and for fantasy purposes, he's not going to hit for a ton of power. He's not going to steal a ton of bases or anything like that. But he's going to kind of give you this very safe overall all-around production when he's in the lineup, and especially in OBP leagues, like you mentioned. But he does change that lineup from top to bottom for sure. Mm-hmm. With Woodruff, by the way, you could easily make him your number 2 pitcher if you wanted to. Again, I'm probably going to move him ahead of Cole right now because I just watching him, he just pounds the strike zone, and he doesn't just, it's not one of these lacks command, has control, meaning he's in the strike zone all the time, but he doesn't know where his pitches are so perfectly on the corner, like every single time. Gausman, by the way, also his splitter was great. Like they took the losses. That's why wins and losses are kind of dumb. They were both fantastic yesterday. So buying both of them even more after these starts.
Well, we got some good news too, because Jarred Kelenic hitting 278, 362, 589 with a 951 OPS. I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. He's got 7 homers and 21 RBI since he got sent down. So there's a good chance, or at least a chance, he's floating around. I don't know what the roster percentage is. I imagine it's still in the 70s. I'm going to guess 70%.
70%. All right.
That's my guess as Dan's looking. But look, a third of, somewhere, maybe, 30% of leagues he's available.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
is it worse?
You're not going to, well, to be fair, again, part of what comes into this is the fact that ESPN leagues are part of what our consensus ownership is, or consensus rostered percentage, and they usually play in 10-team formats. So that probably offsets a little bit all the dynasty keeper league formats where people aren't dropping him even if he was bad. Rostered percentage 35%.
Model. Now, that's a spicy meatball.
In redraft, he's been down now for a while, and he was terrible when he came up. And a lot of people probably at this point are kind of starting to check out. They're starting to get into there's Mr. Buster. Oh, is there? So if it's 31% in ESPN, I mean the others, Yahoo and CBS, all that stuff. I guess, frankly, that's just where he is a little bit, and that's great because you should be stashing him. For sure, he's not available in any of my leagues, but I'd stash him without question.
Well, he's going to be back up. Yes. That's just one of those things
It strikes me as like after the All-Star break, right? Like, all right.
Oh, 100%. Go down there.
Right after the All-Star break.
Because you don't want to bring him up and then have him sit again during the All-Star break and have 3 days off. That's dumb. Why would you do that? Why would you do that, Mariners? I don't understand. Okay, so I promised Gerrit Cole conversation, so here we go.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pose this question, and then I'm going to give you the numbers. Okay, so is this just a coincidental rough patch, as many pitchers have, or is this the sticky icky, or lack thereof, getting to Gerrit Cole? First 52 and 2/3 innings, 5-1, 1.37 ERA, 0.68 WHIP, 13.3 K per 9. Since the sticky icky's been taken away, 52.1 innings, 3-3 with a 4.47 ERA, 1.24 WHIP, and a 9.8 K per 9. So I did a little digging past all this, too. I was trying to find a bad Gerrit Cole month. The worst one I could find, first of all, I went all the way back to 2018. So forget 2020 because you can't even, it's such a small sample.
Okay.
But 2018, every single month is still, the lowest K per 9 is 11.6. The highest ERA in 2019 was 4.13. Going back to 2018, same thing. The lowest K per 9 was 10.2, but everything else was in 12s and 13s. And the highest ERA was 4.30. So a bit of a rough patch, but I guess the difference is that I'm seeing is that the K per 9 down and clearly has been more hittable and in terms of contact. So I'm gonna personally lie on the fence about I feel like it's maybe a bit of both. I think maybe it's psychological as much as it is physical with the grip on the baseball. Because I think mentally, for pitchers and pro athletes, that mental edge is a big part of who they are, and especially the great ones. Knowing that they're better, and when you start to take away something that they view as an advantage, it makes it more difficult. Now, what do you think about these Gerrit Cole numbers? You have to go back to the Pittsburgh days to find a stretch quite this, uninspiring, so to speak.
Yeah, this is as bad a stretch, admittedly, as he has had since he kind of, discovered himself with Houston, for sure. But I'm a little comforted just by the fact that, like, you have seen these stretches, obviously, where his ERA is higher than you'd like, even after he became this dominant pitcher. Now, you're right, the strikeouts have never been gone, but I'm inclined to believe that, as kind of the same as I've always said, which is the lack of sticky stuff is certainly impacting him for sure. But a lot of it is psychological at this point for me as he gets ready to adjust to what the new reality is. So I do think he's going to find himself, not maybe to the level that we saw earlier in the season, but I don't think this is the new Gerrit Cole that we've seen. At the same time, that's a reality, Joe, that you're pointing out. Like, even though he's had kind of poor stretches since he kind of, again, with the Astros and beyond, he's never quite been like this with the lack of strikeouts. So I really don't think, like, suddenly, okay.
And look, at 9.8 or whatever it was, is not a bad strikeout
rate. No, absolutely.
That's pretty good. It's a strikeout per 9 is very good. But Cole, we're used to double digits. That's the norm.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say buy. Buy. Right now, buy across the board. The Yankees overall, just a negative stigma on the Yankees, negative stigma on Cole. People are pissed off. Somebody spent a first or second round value on Cole. They're frustrated with this run because this is a 50 inning run now. It's not a 15 inning run. Mm-hmm. This is 50 innings we're talking about. Yep. People are frustrated. Always take advantage of that. Worst that can happen is you get a pitcher with a 4 ERA and a 9.8 strikeout rate per 9, and that's kind of useful. If you could get it on the cheap. Remember, you're not the one that spent the high draft pick equity on it. So you're acquiring that. Upside is he becomes Gerrit Cole again. So just saying right now,
you're buying, but what price are you buying at?
The important question.
Are you paying?
If only there was a chart that gave us some sort of idea.
He's going to continue to fall a little bit in this chart, like a little bit every single week. But I mean, for you, Joe, you're buying. Are you buying him at like first round price? Are you giving up a first rounder for him? Are you giving up? I don't
think you have
Jose Ramirez for him.
I would tell you this. I think I would bring up. I would trade George Springer for him, Bryce Harper for him. Those second tier, second round type hitters. That kind of guy. Bo Bichette's been really good, but if I was desperate for pitching and I had great offense, I would consider that. Because that's how many guys left on this starting pitching block can be had, number one. Number two, have the upside of Gerrit Cole. Not many. Yep. Now, I understand this is a scary thing for people, and some people want to fade Gerrit Cole, and that's all fine and dandy. I like to win. This is an advantage. This is a window, and baseball is a game of streaks for positive and negative. Yeah. I think it's a good conversation to have right now. Here's a good one. Mike Mayer, who, by the way, I have filed my official grievance with Mike Mayer for my home runs. He's going before a committee. I don't know. I'm really upset about this.
Look, the committee has made its decision, Joe. We can talk about that whenever you want.
Oh, my God. Well, I wasn't even there. I didn't even get interviewed by
the committee. Doesn't matter. That's not no due process. No due process.
There's no due process.
This is the dictatorship by Mayer.
Would I trade Juan Soto for Cole? No.
Okay.
Because I think Juan Soto is the hitting version of Gerrit Cole.
That's fine.
So, which is kind of interesting. So, I guess the only way I would do that is if roster needs met that. Where it's like, well, pitching good, hitting bad, whatever, inverse. Then you can look at that swap. But I'd rather always have the position player who's a top 5 position player. And I still think Juan Soto is, regardless of the disappointing year that we've got. So, all right, let's move on to the rest of the performance. This is an important conversation for everybody out there. So.
And there's like nothing to talk about.
And there's nothing else. So that's why I wanted to bring some interesting Gerrit Cole stuff here. You can all make whatever you want of it. All right, let's get after it here. Trevor Rogers, 5 innings, 2 runs, 8 Ks against the Dodgers. Franmil Reyes, the Franimal, was back.
Yes.
I got him back in my lineup yesterday. Very excited. Yep. And 3 for 5 with a homer, 5 RBI, and a steal. Steal from Franimal. Look at him. And Gausman, we mentioned got a loss, but he had 8 Ks against the Cardinals and 2 runs. But again, rare loss for that guy. Incredible. Boy, Kevin Gausman. Every team, and you know what? How much would the Braves love to have Kevin Gausman right now, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Giants, they're they
It's a
kudos to
good
them,
scouting
man.
department, man. They
Yeah,
do a
yeah,
good
they've done
job.
well with all these pitchers,
They
absolutely.
take reclamation projects. But yeah, I don't even want to talk about the rest of these guys. Monday duds we could talk about. Max
Sure.
Fried, 6 runs, gross against the Pirates. Remember yesterday we said it might be too good to be true. Sometimes you got to be careful. Yeah, always, every time. Dylan Cease, another one. We didn't even talk about Dylan Cease yesterday. I didn't even want any piece of that. 8 Ks
Yeah.
against the Tigers, but gave up 6 runs. We talked about Woodruff. And Musgrove was another guy we thought had a good opportunity there.
Yeah.
5 runs for him. So it was just gross. Yesterday was terrible, awful, no good. In terms of injuries, Dan, Yasmani Grandal left with a strained calf. Margot with a hamstring. Eddie Rosario heading to the IL after aggravating that dominant injury, which is bad because you just got Franimal back.
Right.
But, you know, the Indians have been, it feels like cursed this year in a way, right? Yeah, it seems like every time they kind of get something going, they have another injury, and then, you know, the offense starts to fall apart, and that gets back to shape, and then all of a sudden the pitching starts to fall apart.
Yeah.
What do you make of the Indians, you know, the rest of the season?
They've been overachieving like the entire year. Well, I mean, they're getting Plesac back though. I believe they're getting Plesac back on Thursday.
Hold the phone.
Mayor and I are gonna have a party. We should have a live watch party of that game, for because he loves them so much. But yeah, they've obviously dealt with a ton of injuries. Even Ramirez was a little banged up. He was back yesterday, stole 2 bases, but they're just they were riding high on the fact that look, Plesac was okay. Savale was very solid. They're without Bieber now. They're 6 games back. The White Sox, like eventually they'll fall out of it and they'll trade as everyone expected. And the White Sox are going to have the luxury, Joe, of being able to just like slowly tortoise walk themselves right into the playoffs because there's nobody behind them whatsoever. So, I don't know. But again, I'm still buying Jose Ramirez. I'm still buying Franmil, and I'll buy Bieber whenever he comes back. But that's about it.
All right, let's get to the Peanuts and the Cracker Jacks here. This is a big one here. All right, let's see here. Tyler Jones. I have Jose Ramirez, Devers, Franco, Trey Turner. I can't play all of them every day. Why not? Change the league rules. No, you can't play everything, all of them every day because Ohtani takes up one of the utility spots. So which one is the best for Cole? If you can, well, again, I don't know the format here we're talking about, so I'm just going to assume it's season-long roto. Looking at that, Dan, I mean, I don't want to get rid of Devers. I don't think Franco gets it done, which means to me, I think Jose Ramirez is probably the guy because you don't want to deal with Trey Turner because of the stolen bases. But I think Jose Ramirez gets Cole done. I think that's another guy too. Hitters at the end of the beginning of the second round value. I think that's what you can get Gerrit Cole for right now. And if you have really good hitting, like Tyler clearly does, that's a move you could make.
So I clearly offer Franco for Cole. Like if I can get that done, if somebody has I don't either, but that is certainly the one to deal. I think I have Ramirez higher than Devers rest of the season just because of the steals. Like the steals are, and Devers.
So either one, Devers or Jose Ramirez, you can't play them all anyway, like you said. I mean, let's go for it.
Yeah, I would. But again, you might be able to deal. The bottom line is you might be able to deal them for somebody who, frankly, at this point, I prefer to Cole. Like I would rather have Darvish than Cole. I've said it before. I would now rather have Woodruff than Cole. I'd probably rather have Scherzer than Cole. Other than that, I think I'm dropping him to maybe my 5th starting pitcher now that I think about it. So you might want to look there. But if not, if you dealt Devers or if you dealt Jose Ramirez for Cole, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I would not deal Turner. Yeah, like I can't deal Turner for anybody other than DeGrom. If you're dealing him for a pitcher, that's it.
Yeah, but this is the whole point too. When you have these guys who are locked into DH, you have to. You're not taking Ohtani out.
I know, and Nelson Cruz. Look, I have a lot of shares of Nelson Cruz, Joe, coming into the year, and obviously he's battling his neck injury from sneezing. I don't know if you saw that from sneezing, but he really clogs up like a spot. Like I usually kind of disregard him. Like this is great. You can get a discount on these guys because they're taking up your utility spot, whatever. But this year more than ever, I feel like I need that flexibility a little bit, especially with him being questionable seemingly every week to start. It's been a little bit annoying. So that's the one downside to Ohtani, although he's probably pretty close to getting outfield eligibility at this point because he plays there all the time.
Oh yeah, but again, when you have a great offense there, I can only assume this is a 10-team league also.
Yeah. Right.
I take that shot. Devers, the relative position value difference between Devers and Jose Ramirez is percentage points, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of their value. Whichever, offer Ramirez first. Well, like Dan said, offer Franco first. They're going to say no. I might not even do that because if they're going to say no to that and you realize that and they realize that, unless they're a prospect-loving crazy person, in a redraft format, you know that they love the young players. Maybe you could kind of ask it. I don't know if I would put it into the trade offer because you don't want to alienate them and piss them off, but just be ready for one of those two other guys. Here's an interesting one from Zach. Framber or Cole? Let's say rest of season. Who would you rather have, Dan Harris?
I'm still taking
I can't believe
Cole.
we're having this conversation.
I know. I'm still taking Cole. I'm not there yet. Again, Framber is a borderline top 20 guy for me rest of season, but Cole is still, again, I'm as my 5th ranked starting pitcher. Framber does put a little bit of the, the dent in yours and Bogman's fade all injuries in the spring thing because he's pretty dominant.
That wasn't
now.
A real injury.
Right.
That was a broken
injury.
pinky. That wasn't a tear.
Yeah.
It wasn't any
Off
sort of
injury,
shoulder, elbow. This is a
Yep.
pinky. That's what you remember when John Heyman go, he's gonna be out for the year. Like what?
Yeah,
He broke his pinky.
I know. So I would prefer Cole. But again,
I had a high ankle sprain once, and I fought for 6 weeks on a high ankle sprain. Don't tell me about a broken pinky. High ankle sprain.
I stubbed my toe once, and I was out for 4 weeks. So that's how I
right?
roll. That's how Dan Harris rolls.
I had a sore throat, and I did a podcast once. All right,
true.
let's talk about the sponsor of our show, and you know who that is. It's Manscaped, and I can only imagine that we are the biggest sellers of lawnmowers around.
So.
In fact, I can actually, if you listen closely outside the window, I believe the lawnmowers are arriving at Joey P's house just in time for the read. That's right. Lawnmower 4.0 can be yours at manscaped.com if you use that code leading off. That's right. 20% off, free shipping. If you use that code leading off, you got the advanced skin safe technology. It'll pick your kids up from camp. It'll drop them off in the morning as well. It also has some fantastic other features, such as the longest battery life ever in a lawnmower. So you can just manscape all day, all night. No questions asked. That's your business. And don't forget about that 4K LED light. So as you manscape well into the wee hours, you can still see what you're doing and you don't want to injure anything. So once again, go to manscaped.com, 20% off, free shipping with our code leading off. Your balls will thank you. Now, let's get to the grievances because it's not Festivus, but let's be honest, I have a grievance here. So there's 2 home runs that I'm not getting. Is that what's going on here?
No, there's one.
You've given me one. Okay.
So here's let me just explain it to you. And I think that you can agree.
There's no main slate on Sunday. I just want to.
No. It's not that, by the way. It's not that. That's not the reason, Joe, just to be clear. And I think that Mike Mayer and I were very fair in the way we dealt with this. First of all, I put it to a vote. You got 0 votes as to whether or not your home run should count, just to be clear. The only vote you got was me setting up.
Wow.
Setting it up.
Thanks, everybody. All those reviews yesterday, lies.
The rule that Mayer, I think you would agree with this rule. The rule that Mayer has set up is that you can't pick players who have doubleheaders scheduled generally, which you didn't. You picked them for Friday and then into perpetuity. You didn't know it was going to be a doubleheader. I didn't know. You can't pick players going into doubleheaders because you double your chance of getting a home run for the price of a single pick. So he didn't just want everybody picking doubleheaders. So that was the deal. You can't pick players.
Is sound logic.
Okay.
I support this logic.
So technically on Sunday, you had a doubleheader. You had one in each game of the doubleheader. So technically, had you picked them on Sunday, you would not have been able to pick Pete Alonso, which kind of is how it went. However, you obviously picked Alonso for Friday and then into it, and then you had the game rained out.
Weekend. No.
Mayer,
one is fair. I'll take the one.
You'll take one? Okay, you get one. You get credit for one.
Mike Mayer, all the bad things I said about you yesterday, I still say them.
And that was, to be clear, that was Mayer's entire, he texted me 3 minutes before the show and says, I think Joe should get credit for one. And I said, fine.
Fine, give it to him. Throw him a bone.
I think
it's just a bit at this point. I
got
don't
one
care.
on me.
It's a funny bit.
I did hit one last night.
You did indeed. You did indeed. Don't look now, boys and girls, but Dinger Dan getting very hot into the All-Star break. So that means you are in double digits now or no?
I think I still
You're
just
at
have 9.
You're at 9.
I mean, I'm gonna have 11 after I double dong tonight. So just to make
that okay. Wonky Penguin still leads all the boys with 14. So
Wonky Penguin 361 total home run call. By the way, best part, I don't know if you know this, Joe, but Mayer and friend, I think Riley, a friend of the show, Riley, set up a bot to automate the home run calls in Discord.
Meaning, know how much I love bots.
The bot crew has taken over. He doesn't actually have to keep track of them. It's just a bot. If you put in the thing, it automatically keeps track of everyone's home run calls.
That is glorious.
Amazing.
This is what I love about the Peanuts and the Cracker Jacks. For all of their nonsense, They are really serious at the end of the day,
Oh
and they
my
do great
gosh.
things. Like this is great. I love
This is amazing. This is actually the home run call thing has surpassed my wildest expectations. I love the people in there. Everybody's on everybody else. It's really great. We're going to do something similar, by the way, for football. If everybody plays football, by the way, get in Discord because we're going to be doing similar contests in some capacity. Joe and I are working on it. We're going to figure it out. For football, we'll have Discord contests. We'll do giveaways, all that good stuff for football as well. So
I can't wait for that because this is something that I used to do on my shows at a previous company, and it was wildly popular. We all had fun, and every week, whoever had, we would pick somebody, and we would be their champion, like Game of Thrones style. Yeah. So like we'd be playing for someone whoever won, either me or Bogman or me or Meanie, would end up getting, that person swag.
I hope it ends better than the champion. Swag. The champion.
Well, let's just say I was the mountain.
You subbed your eyes. Were the viper. Oh, you were the mountain. That's fine.
Yeah. So,
right. Very good.
Although I did always use that viper. I will be your champion gif.
Because awesome. It's a good one. It's a good one.
It's a good.
All right, that well, but it's a good.
15 games, a whole lot of games tonight. Jacob deGrom leads the pack here. 11.8K on FanDuel. 11.5 on DK. Aaron Nola 10 on both sides. Nate Eovaldi, who continues to be good, 10.3, a little expensive for my taste on FanDuel, but 8.9 on DK. You have my ear. I'm listening on DK. So cash game arms, look, it's always deGrom and everybody else. It's best deGrom lineup wins. It's probably going to be 70, 80% rostered, and
sure.
Who cares?
Right.
And when you look at the rest of the slate, in terms of GPP arms, you can go with an Ian Anderson, who's in that mid-8 range on both sides. You can go with Pablo Lopez. You can go with Luis Castillo, who's 8.5 on FanDuel and 8.5 on DK. Outside of that, it's kind of, Pablo Lopez at 7.7 on DK as a second arm is better than on FanDuel in the standalone. Really, to me, it's about getting the best deGrom lineup you can, which is going to be tricky, but there's ways to do it, and we're going to give you some of those lineup builders. But outside of that, the Castillo one is interesting to me because I still feel that despite all of his good work in these last few weeks, people still are not giving him enough credit for it because of how bad the other stretch were. So perhaps there's a little bit you can make in terms of roster percentage differential there where you're being what I always like to call, responsibly different as opposed to different for the sake of being different. So That's kind of where I'm leaning tonight. I go with deGrom, and then I'm looking at Castillo and Eovaldi pairing on DK because you put that together, that's about 17,000, and that's about where you want to be from the pitchers, I think, responsibly. So what are your thoughts on the pitching slate tonight?
Yeah, I really like the way you're approaching it. I mean, I think certainly on FanDuel, you just go with deGrom and you figure out the rest because it's just preposterous. I agree with you. I think Castillo is pretty underpriced. Just he's been extremely solid forever now. It's 7 straight starts where he hasn't allowed more than 3 runs. He's getting the strikeouts pretty much every time, at least 5 in every start. And again, against the Royals, I think it's a decent matchup. Eovaldi is a guy who you have been championing forever, and he's really earned it. He's earned it. He's an all-star Nate Eovaldi. That's a great
combo, by the way. You want tonight on DK, if you want to fade away from deGrom, because I think both those guys have good win equity, good matchups. They're on good runs. Like all the things kind of fall into place there for them.
Yeah, and one of the things I talked about, by the way, last week, I think it was when I was saying why I wasn't going after Maeda in that first start is in DFS, I don't like to risk things with pitchers who just kind of have weird schedules. And that is what we have with Pablo Lopez. Remember, because he got ejected right over the weekend because of the nonsense with Acuna after like a pitch or whatever. So he should be fine, but he basically hasn't really pitched, right?
It's a good point. It's a really
in like 8 days. So I'm just gonna I like to take out the variables where I can. So I'm avoiding that start for sure.
You have 2 4-outcome games here. You've got Chris Bassett, who's been very good. He's at 10K on FanDuel, 9.8 on DK. Against Framber Valdez on the road against Houston, 10.2, 9.5. And then you got Carlos Rodon at 10.6, 10.3 against Barrios at 9.9, 8.8. Look, I will say this. Any of these guys are viable tonight. Usually I run away from these games, but because it's deGrom in the pack, this is where I think tonight, if you get one of these 4 guys correct in a tournament, you can actually really hit a really good, strong pay line. You could get 10x your money possibly tonight. If I'm going to put my money on one of them, I think it's going to be Carlos Rodon, to be honest with you. Especially if Cruz is out again in that lineup and Donaldson.
Yeah, I would expect both of them to be out actually tonight. The one thing I would look is rain potentially in that game.
Right, of course.
That is something because I think that is an actual possibility tonight. I'm not going with Barrios just because we talked about it. Like I these random games where he doesn't strike anybody else. I wouldn't mind going with Valdez just because he's.
I don't mind it.
incredibly safe. Incredibly safe. I just the odds of a blow up start are infinitesimal in my opinion. So I do like Bassett generally as a pitcher, but I think going up against that Astros lineup, although to be fair, it might depend on what the Astros lineup look like. If because they're obviously down Bregman, if they're also still out Tucker, if they're still out Brantley, then I could see maybe going that way. But other than that, I agree with you with Rodon if the weather holds. If not, I kind of like Framber.
All right, here's your lineup builders on FanDuel. Austin Hayes, 2.7. Brandon Nimmo, I know it's lefty-lefty, it doesn't matter. Brandon Nimmo hits left-handed pitching. Another great way to make some money tonight, 2.7. Jonah Heim at 2K. He is free square, 2K. He's been hitting the ball. He's also 2.5 on DraftKings, so that's another guy too. Miguel Andujar on both sides too, 2.3. Miguel Andujar is on FanDuel. Over on DK, he is 2.7. Gene Segura on DK, 3.3. Cesar Hernandez at 3.5 over on DraftKings as well. So those are some guys that can help you tonight. Not a lot, again, that Jonah Heim free square, that's your DeGrom equalizer. You got to have a good free square if you're going to have DeGrom. Sometimes it's Pujols. We've used him once or twice. Like some guys are like in the middle of the order at 2.2 or 2K. Those are the guys you need. It offsets DeGrom, and then you can kind of basically make a regular lineup. That brings us to home run calls tonight. I'm going with George Springer. That's right. Give me George Springer there against the O's. And Dan, who are you doing? Because you've got quite a hot streak going here, Danny boy. So where's Dan going for his home run call?
I'm going to Chicago, but I'm taking the opposite side because anything you can do to fade the Cubs right now is what you want to be doing. I'm taking Bryce Harper to homer twice tonight. I'll take one, but twice tonight. That's my prediction.
All right. And remember, everybody, we got a Shane Bieber autographed jersey. He autographed it before he got hurt, so don't worry. He didn't injure himself autographing that. And we want to give it to you. Just go to FantasyPros.com/MLB contest. You drop that review over on Apple Podcasts or CastBox. You screenshot it. And if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and you screenshot that as well at Fantasy Pros MLB on YouTube, 3X, baby. That's right. You get all the other extra entries. So do that. And a Shane Bieber jersey can be yours thanks to Pristine Auction. Dan, final thoughts before we close things out today.
I hope tonight's a better baseball day than yesterday, which is a little boring. So let's go. Let's get something going tonight.
I got a good feeling it will be. I got a feeling tonight it's going to be a good night.
I feel like I've heard that somewhere. That sounds familiar.
Nope, just made it up.
You just made it up? Copyright.
Just made it up. Brand new. That'll do for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Dan Harris, I'm Joe Pisapia. We'll see you next time, kids.